Hey guys, Polymake here. I'm gonna run you through a greed run with a couple friends of mine, and we'll see if I can get you, selling some greed carries for 10k in channel 1 here within the night. So here we are. We start, of course, as a full group, 4 people. Right off the bat, we're gonna run right up this little mid lane and take care of some of the most basic mobs here in greed, which are the snowmen, the mini snowmen, and some tromen. I can tell you what to watch out for here. The mid-sized snowmen here are going to throw snowballs. They do a decent amount of damage, like maybe 300 to 500 if I had to guess. The mini snowmen, they're going to kamikaze, run straight at you. Notice another group spawns down here at the bottom, a little bit in here. There's a count of how many monsters are available to kill before the next wave will spawn. Sometimes you'll have a timer. I'll show you when you have a timer on one of the objectives. This one is not timed. You just need to know where they're going to spawn and don't just go wandering around the map. So take a look at where these groups are spawning. They always spawn in these spots at those times. So you can get used to it. Rewatch the video if you have to. Like I was saying, the mini snowmen, they're going to run straight at you. Okay, their melee damage is actually pretty substantial. I don't know about that mob, what he much does. Maybe throws a snowball or something. After you clear these little groups here and run around, try to avoid the melee damage. Like I said, dodge as many snowballs as you can. You can run up around if you're cheeky enough. Run up around here and catch this next group that's going to spawn right here. Make sure your whole group doesn't run around and do this just in case. Try to leave somebody behind. But the point here is that we're going to run and catch even the next group that spawns and try to make this run as fast as possible. So here's some more mini snowballs or snowmen. And here's a giant one, pretty useless guy. A lot of the damage here is negligible, as you can see, especially if you're defending it. Alright, here we go. A pretty large group is going to spawn here. A lot of new people that you're carrying or new players will die here just by the melee damage, okay? They're going to get swamped and overrun by the mobs, and the damage is, you can't even chug through it if you don't have enough HP. So you'll notice how we kind of, if you have enough damage, you can stand right in the center and just throw, right? You're fine. But we kind of kite around to avoid using as many pots. Okay, I'm going to pause here because this is the first boss, all right? Notice it says boss appears. Before you run in here, if you are not the main, the leader of the group, we'll call him the kite, that's what he's called, or she's called. You need to turn your auto off, all right, just to be safe. And so what you're going to do is as soon as you enter this little phase right here and the boss appears, wait for the kite to go and hit the boss, all right? There's only one boss here. His name's ICEDILE. Its name is ICEDILE, and you need the kite to hit it first, and so he can lead it around, okay? So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and play this and try to run you through it. So here we go. So I'm the kite, so I'm going to go ahead and smack him. I'm going to run right down here to this corner, okay, to get ICEDILE to follow me. He's not really dangerous. Then I'm going to run around the corner and stick him, all right? Now, this will work 100% of the time with ICEDILE, all right? The only thing that's going to change here is if ICEDILE's first attack is an underground attack. Maybe he'll do it here. I'm not quite sure. Then what ICEDILE is going to do is pick a new random target after that, and then that person has to run around and stick him here as well. There's a couple places you can stick them on the map. People have their own preferences for different regions, but this is where I like to do it. It's pretty simple, okay? What you need to remember here is just don't stack up. As you can see, let's see, I have a player stacking on top of me. You want to try to spread out here and avoid all this. You can see this ice pistol damage, which is pretty substantial. Hard to actually chug through. If you are all stacked in one spot, ICEDILE's just going to pound the ice pistols on you, and you're going to be screwed, okay? So try to spread out and get ICEDILE stuck there. Alright, after this is a little phase that kind of precedes the next boss, Snow Bruce. This is Maze and Bottom. So I think I called Maze. Let me see. No, did somebody else go? We'll see. And the other individuals need to go bottom. Okay, that's what they need to do, because there's two crystals available on the map right here. Notice the time limit; it's running down, and one player at least needs to run through this maze, as you can see, and hit one of the crystals, while the other at least 1 to 3 players go bottom and hit the other crystal. It's just a one-hit smack on this little objective object. You'll see it here in a second. Here you go. That's it. As you can see, I think Lovco's inside of it, right? But you hit that, boom, both are hit. It activates the next objective, which isn't timed. We just need to kill these 61 mobs that are going to spawn here, okay? So being alone up here on the maze isn't a big deal. These things don't deal any real substantial damage at all. Being down there on the bottom, as you can see, we'll run down there in a second. There's a lot of damage going on, and if you didn't die already before ICEDILE, in that scene where I told you a lot of new people died of melee damage, you're definitely going to die here because there's some added in flavor with frozen snowballs. Blue snowballs that'll hit you, sometimes home onto you, and freeze you in place while the mobs force themselves around you and melee you, okay? So we're going to run down here and go check it out and help. There's a format to this, so you'll see after these mobs are taken care of, we're going to run up and take care of 2 other little special mobs that like to get stuck up in some corners, and we'll move on to the next boss. The Churro Men don't do insane amount of damage, so like I said, just try to kite around them and avoid any crazy unnecessary melee damage. It's the frozen snowballs and the mini snowman that we're going to really want to watch out for here, okay? You can see here typing, if you have a bit of potions and HP is okay, but it can get you into some trouble. Just try to be careful of it. If you do die, it's probably because you deserved it. You were typing, you weren't paying attention, you froze, or something like that. This dungeon's relatively reasonable if you're paying attention and focused and know all these particular patterns. All right, we're headed up to Snowbruce now, the second boss. 3 bosses in Greed, the final one being Greed himself, okay? So here we go. I'm going to pause for a second and talk about this. So prior to running this boss right here, you should have called tiles similar to a raid. If you haven't done a raid, fire raid, or a water dungeon raid, maybe this video isn't for you, and maybe we'll have some other videos for you. But for those of you that know what I'm talking about, Snowbruce has an attack that will force you to a tile. If you don't go to the tile, the whole party could wipe, okay? Sometimes it doesn't do damage to the whole party, which is, I suppose, a bug, but it's intended to wipe your whole party if one player does not make it to a tile. The attack that precedes the rain that will kill you is 3 hits on the ground, boom, 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 he goes invisible, rain ensues. So you need to take a look at your drop shadow, the shadow underneath your character, and make sure you get onto your correct tile. Have called your tile before this. Try to reserve the top left tile for the kite, the guy who hits or the gal who hits the boss first, and that'll make everything go smooth, okay? Here we go. Once again, we hit it first. We run straight up here. What that's going to do is force Bruce to follow us up here. We're going to wiggle a little bit, stay along the wall, and run here, okay? That's what we're going to do. This is one of the ways you can stick Bruce. There's at least 3 or 4 ways I've seen that you can legitimately stick Bruce on this map. This one's just fine for me. Go ahead and share the one you like the most in the comments below, but we'll see how this works out for me. It's just fine. So about the rain, you don't get it all the time. It's random. There's certain intervals where it definitely has a chance to happen, I've noticed, one of which is, I believe, 33 million HP. Other than that, I don't really know. But it doesn't always happen, and I don't believe it's going to happen in this run. I'm going to throw in a clip of it just to show you what. Oh, I did. It did. He went invisible. He's invisible. No. 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 What? Not, but the other attacks that Bruce does throw out are pretty negligible. You don't have to dodge them. He does spawn ads around him, so depending on where you stick him, it could be pretty advantageous for the ads to be spawning where you can kill them immediately, because the frozen snowball is one of the attacks the ads are going to throw at you, which means if you're frozen, you can't run to your tile. So one of the hardest parts about this is if the ads spawn, freeze you, and then Bruce immediately does his tile attack, it's kind of hard to get to your tile. Your allies need to help you take down the ads and pay attention to whether there's a frozen snowball ad that has spawned, which is the large blue snowman that you saw. Okay, so that's Bruce. That's his tile, and if you can get past that without wiping your party, and you all have 2 lives on greed, you can have a pretty good chance at getting some noodles at least. We're running from Bruce down to the bottom right up to Greed. We don't want to run into Greed until, of course, the people who are not kiting have turned auto off and everyone's ready. Maybe you want to relog to avoid to get some lag. Depending on the situation, make sure everyone's ready, okay? Try to keep the same tiles from Bruce. If not, just call again and say, hey, I'm Kites TL, I'm TR, etc. BL, BR, okay? Those are the acronyms for the tiles. Here we're gonna go. Here we go. This is greed. So greed's pretty complex. It's broken into, I would say, 3 main sections, and so we'll deal with each section individually. Okay. So this is the first pre-800 phase on greed, and the kite's me is going to run up and smack greed while the others run down to the right or to the left. Okay. The reason they're going to run immediately to the right or the left is to avoid hitting greed if they didn't turn auto off. Or also avoiding the first attack that greed throws out, which is kind of unavoidable. The kite's going to run up, and me is going to run behind greed and try to bring him up to the top wall, okay? What we're looking for is, how does greed walk in the first place? Does he walk horizontally or vertically? This is how we determine how we're going to kite greed throughout the next 2 phases, this phase and the next 2 phases, okay? And so we call it either vertical kite or horizontal kite. I'm going to show you a video of both here, and show you how we get into it and explain either. All right, we notice he is definitely horizontal because he's walking horizontal to start, and he's having a hard time walking back up towards the top, okay? He's kind of waddling left and right instead of just walking straight up towards me. He wants to horizontally track me rather than vertically track me, okay? I think that's pretty much all it means. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I understand about this. So given that he's horizontal, I want to get him stuck to the wall as fast as possible. So what I found is I just wiggle behind him, okay? So you notice I stood behind him and just waddled left and right to try to get him to track me vertically, okay? All right, so I now have him on the wall. Now I have him on the wall. There's a couple ways you can handle this. I've seen more advanced players than me kind of run down and stand a couple tiles where like Big Bad and Z-Fair are, and run left and right, kiting him there while he's horizontal. But this is how I'm going to handle it. It costs a couple more potions, but it's how I know how to do it. I'm just going to run left and right along the wall until greed reaches 800 million. Pretty boring, but it's what you got to do. The only thing you need to do for this phase, I suppose, and it's worth mentioning, is make sure you're full HP, especially if you have low max HP, and even if you're not the kite, because some attacks can go rogue and just run at you anyways. Try to dodge if they do, but as the kite, you need to make sure not to run under greed as he's attacking. He's going to attack every 6 seconds. Boom. So you can count 6 Mississippi in your head. It's not super crucial. Just make sure you don't run right underneath his legs while he's attacking. It's going to hurt, and it's going to one-shot you possibly, okay? The one attack that I would say you need to watch out for in the pre-800 phase is the Potion Curse, buff name 1001, I think it's called, in your chat. If you use a potion after greed like charges red, it's going to curse you. It's going to degrade your health, okay? It's like a negative potion effect. We'll see if he does it here. Okay, as the DPS, the other 3 people hopefully alive on this greed run pre-800, your job is to just stand right, I suppose, two or three tiles underneath greed, run back and forth, and make sure all of your projectiles are hitting him. To ensure that auto is off, and you are making sure that you're in front of greed as he's running, as you're tapping your attack. Okay, so never have your projectiles chasing greed, okay? If he's running away from your projectiles, it's really likely that some of them aren't going to hit. They don't travel as fast as he does a lot of the time, okay? If from long distances. So you'll notice Z-Fair is trying to get in front of greed and run around, okay? And that's exactly what you want to do. All right, also, as the DPS, you can call out HP, possibly, for the kite or other people. Tell them, okay, 100 million, 90 million. The closer it gets to 800 million, I believe. I can't count zeros. It's going to get dangerous, and we need to pull greed into a new pattern for the next phase, okay? Greed is based off of, his patterns are based off of how much HP he has. here we go. We're nearing the 80 phase right now, so pulling them left here. So we have 6 seconds, 6 Mississippi in between this attack and the next attack, and he's under 80, so what we're going to do is run right down the left wall, just like that. So since Greed attacks every 6 seconds during that phase in this, what we did was we kind of timed out the last pre-800 attack to the 800 attack and made sure that Greed was stuck to that top left corner. It's very important he's stuck to the top left corner. We don't know what attack is going to come out for this next, what we call the 800 phase. And so it's really important that we stick him to the top left corner and look at which of these 3 attacks Greed is going to throw at us. Greed has 3 attacks for the 800 phase that he wasn't using in the previous phase. That's Ice Fan, the one you just saw. Jump, this next one that he just pulled, and the next one that he's going to do indefinitely is Purple Amp Attack, is what I call it. And he's going to do just much like he did before. He's going to amp up a color of purple instead of red. Instead of red, he's going to do purple. And if you hit him during this attack, it's going to reflect damage on your whole party. So this is another part where you can really piss people off and ruin the good time your party's having is by smacking Greed during the Purple Amp phase. I'm going to show you that next, right here. So notice how we all went to tile, actually. Sorry. Notice how we all went to the tile during that jump phase right there. Right after the Ice Fan, Greed disappeared. He jumped up into the air. So we know, okay, well, Greed did Ice Fan. Now he did this attack jump. When he lands, he's going to throw some kind of ground-based projectile at 1 or 2 of the 4 people on the map. And if you're not on the tile, it's going to one-shot you. It's not going to hurt the other people necessarily, but you being gone and the DPS leaving is definitely going to hurt them. So you need to run to the tile. So we brought him to the corner for the beginning of what we knew was going to be the next 800 phase to see what the first attack was. It was Ice Fan. We don't know what the next 2 and third attack is going to be. So we did what you're supposed to do, which is bring Greed to top left for 800, run straight down to avoid what could be Ice Fan, which it was, run to the right to avoid the reverse sweep of the Ice Fan. Let me show you that again. So we're right here at 123. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay, so we're here. We know the 80 phase is coming. You can see it. We have 6 seconds right now. We want to stick Greed and run straight down. We don't know what attack it's going to be right now. It could be Jump. It could be Purple Amp. It could be Ice Fan. But we're going to treat it as the most dangerous attack of all 3. Ice Fan, and we're going to run straight down the left wall. This is what you need to do for the whole 80 phase until what we call 40 or 400 million. This is how you need to treat every single Ice Fan, and it's going to cycle all 3 of these attacks we're talking about. So watch how we treat Ice Fan. Straight down. Notice how it's radial, and then it kind of reverses around. Back up. We don't know what the next attack is, so let's assume it's Purple Amp. Stop attacking because all that damage is going to reflect. There you go, it's Jump. Run straight to tile. We know the next attack now is going to be Purple Amp. That's no mystery. So now we have the cycle of 80 phase, and we're going to play it out as it needs to be played out. Go ahead and watch. Very, very important that everyone stops attacking at the Purple Amp phase to avoid unnecessary potion use. You also want to avoid Greed's melee damage. It's unnecessary for the most part. Don't stand underneath him unless you're the kite and you're trying to stick him exactly there for multiple seconds. So see how predictable the attack cycle is, and the only time you need to stick him top left exactly is for Ice Fan, and you can kind of see why. It's the easiest way to avoid the way that Ice Fan radially sweeps, because it sweeps counterclockwise. All right, notice how we're starting to call out HP again. It's because the third phase is coming, the 40 phase or the 400 phase. So we're preparing for that. So since Greed was vertical for this particular kite, since Greed was horizontal for this particular kite, we need to swap tiles from left to right. Actually, me and the top right tile guy have to swap at 400. in order to stick greed properly. As a horizontal greed, he's not going to stick properly in the top left corner at the 400 phase. We have to bring him to the top right. And it'll become more clear when I show that to you, but keep that in mind that we're preparing for a swap right now. And we're trying to figure out, okay, on what jump are we going to swap tiles on? See? Right there. Now, he didn't swap for me. You see that? So what I did is I ran up. Now, this is it's pretty common that this happens. Not everyone's going to be perfectly on point. He didn't know maybe that I was intending to make that swap on that jump. Maybe he thought we could make one more jump. But I'm going to bring it back a second. So Big Bad almost killed me, but I know that if I just wait out Greed's land attack, that I can kind of just adjust myself real quick and dodge it. But it could have went bad, right? So let's watch this swap. Or the lack of the swap, sorry. So I run over. I run over thinking, okay, he knows, right? We need a swap. It's horizontal. He runs on tile. I'm not going to double up on the tile. That's going to kill us. So I'm going to try to make it back to my tile. I realize I can't, so I'm going to try to dodge Greed's ground attack. And readjust. There you go. Okay. All right. Now it's important for me to... I have 6 seconds between attacks to stick Greed into the corners. That's the name of the game here. If you want to take anything away from this video, it's you're going to count 6 Mississippi in between Greed attacks, and you're going to try to stick them into corners. If you can remember that, it's better than nothing. But for this phase, that's what we have to do. Let's see here. There's quite a few attacks that Greed's going to cycle through. Possibly all the attacks that he has done in the whole match, save 2. He doesn't do the HP curse, and he doesn't do what looks like Ice Pistol. He does every other attack though, so you need to know what to do for the particular attack and know how to dodge it. The Ice Fan, of course, the most attack in all of this scenario, is just avoided by running straight diagonal down and then back up. So I'll show you what that looks like if he throws an Ice Fan here, and show you how you deal with counting to 6 and pulling Greed into the corner as best you can. You're gonna have to chug a lot of potions, hands down. The better you get at this, and the better RNG you have on what attacks come out, the less amount of potions you're gonna be able to use. Let's go. This is the 400 phase. So we want to be underneath Greed to the bottom left every attack. Okay. So right there, I'm going to go back. I didn't know what attack Greed's going to throw out. And what attack do we always pretend Greed's going to throw out when we don't know? Ice Fan. Yeah, so because it's going to wipe you. So you might as well assume the worst, okay? Safety's first on this scenario. It's not Glut. So you need to really pay attention and expect the worst. So we're going to expect that the first attack is Ice Fan, and we're going to run straight diagonal away from Greed in hopes that we can run in between the particular radially sweeping ice spears. So take a look. See, nothing. And so since I didn't see anything come out of Greed, I didn't see any animations on Greed, I know what attack it is. I call it Blizzard. Some people call it freezing. This attack gives you 5 seconds, 5 Mississippi about, until the next attack. That's the only variant attack in this whole cycle. So when I didn't see Ice Fan and I didn't see any other attack, I knew it was Blizzard. I immediately I'm about at 2 Mississippi at this point in my head, and I start counting from there to 5 Mississippi. At that 5 to 6 Mississippi range, I know the next attack's going to happen. The danger here is that Blizzard, if you're too close to this, you can see this growing ball right here. If you're too close to it in proximity, you're going to freeze. And if the next attack after that is some kind of heavy attack or even Ice Fan, then you're going to die. So you need to make sure to run away a little prematurely. This attack is the hardest attack to deal with, other than Ice Fan, in that it brings Greed away from the corner if you're not counting exactly perfect, okay? So there we go. By the time it rains, I'm away from the blue dot so I don't get frozen, and so I can handle whatever next attack it is. I immediately start counting again, but I need to see what attack Greed's going to throw out, and I'm going to treat every attack as if it is Ice Fan. It's Purple Lamp. Another property of Purple Lamp I didn't tell you is that it picks a random target to damage, or it damages everybody, but it nullifies somebody's damage to 0 for a particular amount of seconds. I don't know how many. So there you go. We didn't dodge that. Froze us. This is a little bit of a problem because now I don't have time to get Greed back up into the corner. So we're going to run. All right. We didn't see anything. We know it's Blizzard. We're counting right now to 5. We got frozen by it. This is where things get a little messy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset. So what I did right there is I attempted to reset greed, okay? So I stuck in the corner for a second. I'm gonna show you that again. So frozen, we have a problem here. So I'm a little off. I'm gonna hold up here. There's a freezing attack coming. And I should have stayed up a little bit longer instead of running down and back up. That's all. I should have stayed up in the corner longer before running down, and this would have all been avoided, but watch how we kind of get through it. So we're counting in between attacks right now to 6 Mississippi. The Blizzard, of course, 5. Right now we're hoping to reset. There we go. We get an easy amp attack, which allows us to go to the corner and basically reset greed for free. There we go. There's Ice Fan. Notice how we're all scattering down to the bottom diagonal, and then the reverse sweep, avoiding that. Run right back up to the corner as the kite. You need to stick them again. There we go. That was a pretty clean Ice Fan. And jump. So now I'm TR tile, and Big Bad, the guy who stole the tile before, knows that. All right, it's no mystery anymore. So we should have a pretty clean finish on greed here. You've seen basically everything. We just need to cycle that and not mess up, and not miscount as the kite. So I was a little too close right there to the Blizzard, which could have resulted in my death. So RNG is the only thing that kept me alive 2 or 3 times. I have another life, of course, but still, RNG is the only thing that kept me alive there. And greed's about to die here, so you want to get a little bit of DPS out, but don't be sloppy. See, right there, if you were staying greedy for a little bit of damage, then you would have died, okay? So there you go. That's a clean greed run. You get 2 sections of boxes here, just like any scenario, and you pay 30 rubies for the second line of boxes. And here's what you can get out of these boxes. You can get the gear, and it's going to be tradable no matter what when you get it out of this. The greed set gear, or the greed tradable non-set gear. And you can get noodles, frozen needles out of this. Any number between 1 and 5, or maybe 1 and 3. I've noticed it's kind of fun to just tap a bunch of boxes a bunch of times. I'll show you what I mean. Let's see here. Just tap a bunch of boxes, and I have a feeling that it kind of like re-rolls the box. I have a bunch of fun doing it, but we'll see. And those are the types of rewards you get, and that is a pretty solid greed run for you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. This is meant to be kind of quick and straight to the point. Yeah, thanks.